Good evening and welcome to another series of the programme now officially immortalised in Edwina Curry's diaries. Recorded TV show Have I Got News For You tonight with Ian Hislop of Private Eye, young, hip, slick, etc. Bloody hard work, especially if your period's coming on. Little too much information. In the news this week, in the latest episode of Changing Rooms, one man tries to rectify what the neighbours have done to his house. At his new open prison in Suffolk, police revealed the new arrangements under which Jeffrey Archer will be allowed out on day release. And the ladies at the Huntington Conservative Club prepare for a visit by John Major. On Paul Merton's team is the former editor of the Today programme on Radio 4, who recently criticised political programmes for giving in to chat and headlines and drivel. Well, it's kept us in work for the last 12 years. Rod Liddle. And with Ian Hislop tonight, the wife of former Government Minister Neil Hamilton, who recently said, contrary to popular belief, we actually turn down a lot of offers because they are unsuitable. Christine Hamilton. Who will be appearing with her husband in Jack and the Beanstalk at the Yvonne Arnaud Theatre in Guildford. Round one features 4 controversial news stories, for the sake of argument. Ian and Christine. It's that man again.
That's Saddam Hussein.
They're voting, are they?
That's his parents, voting 12 million times. In blood. There's Tony. I don't think he voted for Saddam. That's a dossier. They're just flipping through it quickly in case you want to read it.
That's Saddam losing the election but winning the count, isn't it?
It does help that the ballot paper in Iraq says, would you like A, to vote for Saddam Hussein, B, to die horribly? His is the only name on the paper, so 100% of the vote's not... It's not that unlikely, is it?
No.
Apparently the streets were empty, and the voting booths were empty as well, so either everyone's dead...
Well, a Daily Telegraph reporter did manage to find a polling booth where a 6-year-old child was casting his vote. And they actually asked the Daily Telegraph reporter if he wanted to vote as well. So when can we look forward to World War III?
It's been postponed tonight. President Bush has found out that North Korea is in Iraq.
How many of our country are in favour of it?
Not last, but 40%, is it?
No, not 40%. I should think 30.
It's not a guessing game.
Oh, is it not? Well, as you know, Ian, I don't read the newspapers.
Oh, right. That may be a bit of a drawback, you might find.
Well, it was a drawback last time, 5.5 years ago, so I have read the odd
Is it that
paper
long since you're on?
Darling, I have been waiting for you to invite me back. 5.5 years I've had to wait.
Really? Not long enough.
No.
Yeah, so 42% of the UK are now in favour of going to war, apparently. Are you for or against, Rod?
I couldn't possibly jeopardise the impartiality of the BBC. there are very good reasons for bombing Iraq and murdering the innocent people who live there. Similarly, there are very good reasons for attempting to find a peaceful solution, I think.
That's a balanced answer.
Sort of
well, that's wonderful coming from The Guardian. You don't normally get a balanced view from The Guardian, but there we go. Well done.
They didn't accuse your husband of corruption, did they?
What did I say?
So what exactly did the editor do now that you've parted company, shall we say, with Today programme?
Set up items for the following morning, set the agenda for the programme, set up the interviews.
So you would be in charge of the smooth running of the Today programme?
Yes, that's right, yes.
OK.
Yes,
As illustrated by this up-to-the-minute report on the Middle East crisis.
Now, I've been talking to Tony Benn. He has often criticised the United States in the past. I asked him what he made of this. Oh, dear, I'm sorry. We obviously have a problem there. That was the wrong
thing. They were actually Mongolian people singing through their throats.
That explains it all, yes.
By some mischance, we pressed
the wrong button.
Tony Benn afterwards said it was a conspiracy. And actually wrote to the BBC saying that he believed that it was a deliberate attempt to make him look stupid.
This is Saddam Hussein's landslide election victory in which he won 100% of the votes. At a press conference, Tony Blair reiterated his support for America's war against terrorists, saying they will strike anywhere, they don't care how many they kill. To which George Bush replied, damn right we don't. Paul and Rod, it's this man again.
Oh, yes, this is the wonderful Jeffrey Archer. There he is. Oh, somebody's hissing. You can't help but laugh, can you? He's guilty. Read my lips. He's guilty. That's what she said. He went to prison and he found that it meant being locked in.
And bars.
And bars. It's full of convicts. Transfer him to the open-air prison this week. Next week, put him back to Lincoln. So he's been an administrative error.
But I think Paul should be the governor.
Yeah, I'll be the governor. I'll be the governor. Where do I apply to be the governor?
The last governor, Jeffrey Archer, was caught breaking his leave arrangement. The governor said, well, he promised me that he wouldn't break his arrangements. You think, he was in for perjury.
How was he punished? What was his punishment for...
One of his books was read to him.
He's banged up in prison. You're banged up in prison. It's awful. And you get yourself out and you smell freedom in your nostrils. And what do? You go to Gillian Shepherd's house. You know? I think I'd rather be buggered in the cell blocks.
Christine, have you ever been to Gillian Shepherd's party?
No, I've never been to Gillian Shepherd's. Just for the record, we've never been to Jeffrey Archer's shepherd's pie and champagne parties either, because he's not one of my favourite people, never has been.
Why didn't you like him?
Because I met him about a week after he'd been elected the youngest Member of Parliament, and I thought, what a bumptious, obnoxious, self-important, over-opinionated prig. That was when I was...
So you're not always wrong?
I was 18. Well, listen, it was the same conference where I met my husband, you see, so...
You can't win them all, can you?
It's been a long week.
There was some astonishing...
At least I've been faithful.
Insight.
You've unleashed the nuclear deterrent earlier.
There were some astonishing insights into Lord Archer's spheres of reference in the diary. Day 14, breakfast, a packet of cereal called Variety, 8 different cereals in little boxes. I start off with something called Cocoa Puffs. This is then prisoner FF8282, or Lord Archer of Weston-super-Mare, who's currently residing at Her Majesty's pleasure, although surely not just hers. According to one of the security chiefs with whom Jeffrey Archer recently lunched, Archer is anti-drugs and was telling us of prisoners who are dealers and how drugs are getting in. So, E-Wing, if you're watching, his lordship's a grass. Ian and Christine, your second test.
Oh, this is people having to take A-levels. Just getting their results. We don't know. There's Estelle Morris. Schools and hospitals first. Now downgraded to a 3rd.
It's the first time she's come to prominence. Nobody knew who she was until it all got messed up.
No, I think most people thought she was a perfume.
The whiff of failure.
How many papers were remarked then?
Well, they remarked 300,000, and then they found that 2,000 people had actually been given the wrong grades, and someone said, oh, it's a storm in a teacup, but presumably for 2,000 people it was rather bad news.
And who took the rap?
Oh, William Stubbs.
William Stubbs.
He got fired. And then they had an inquiry, which is what the Labour Party always do. You have an inquiry.
Come on, let's not be party political about this. All governments shove it off into an inquiry.
Gosh, this is terribly balanced of you.
Listen, I'm not in politics anymore. I've joined the 98% of the population that doesn't give a damn what goes on at Westminster. And that includes Tony Blair, unfortunately. He's in that 98%. There we go. I never... left the artificial world of politics now for the real world of media and television. It's much more fun being here.
The real world of television, being stuck on a desert island with Yuri Geller. The real world of television.
And what has Ian Duncan Smith said this week?
He said A-levels weren't worth the paper they were printed on. So instead of 2,000 candidates hating him, about 1 million hating him.
So you were a bit of a rebel at school, weren't you, Christine?
Yes, of course I was. I've been a rebel all my life.
Didn't your mother say that you never work out whether you were expelled or not?
You don't want to believe what my mother says. Goodness me, Granny, crikey. She's an unguided missile.
So it's genetic, is it?
Yes, it is.
This is the A-level grading fiasco, which has seen a number of exam results regraded. Bookmakers are now taking odds on which ministerial posts are likely to become vacant in the near future, the favourites being education, education, education. And finally in this round, Paul and Rod, the aforementioned...
Oh, yes, there's John Major sneaking behind Edwina.
It's the book.
Yeah, there's the book that's not selling. He's happy the book's not selling. That's Claire Latimer, I guess, and here's the wife. No, don't laugh. This is the most extraordinary story, that Edwina Curry and John Major were lovers. Nobody could quite believe it. It's such an extraordinary coupling.
And how does she refer to Major in the diaries?
As B, isn't he? It's a secret code, B.
Yeah.
She described this character B as a risk-taker who liked to walk on the edge. So, no great surprise that we never twigged that it was John Major she was talking about.
If you were a man, Ian, I mean,
Yes.
if you were a man...
Yes.
I mean, if Agnes, is it any of... Well, you're all men, aren't you? Gosh, I've only just realised. If you were a man... would you sleep with Edwina rather than Claire Latimer?
You see, not being in the Conservative Party, it's not actually compulsory for us to
What part are you playing in the pantomime?
I'm the good fairy, of course.
What is Neil playing?
Is he wishy-washy?
No, wishy-washy isn't in Jack and the Beanstalk.
He's not playing the Beanstalk.
He's the King of Merrydale.
King of Merrydale.
Right.
Is that an elected post?
We were talking about, yes, the shock revelation about John Major doing something interesting. The revelations have forced people to reassess John Major's years in office. One former colleague told the Sunday Mirror, "None of us could understand why John kept blocking Edwina's peerage." Well, I've heard some euphemisms in my time. So at the end of that round, the score is as level as Baghdad by Christmas, being as it is for all. Round two reacquaints us with the literary delights of tabloid headlines, as illustrated by the frighteningly impressive "It Could Be Choose." Ian and Christine.
Well, I think this is the lottery, because their slogan is "It could be you."
It has been me. I won the lottery recently.
Really?
Not the big million one, but oh yeah, I won a tidy sum.
How much?
Fortunately, I bought the ticket, because as I'm married to a bankrupt, if he'd bought the ticket and won, the money would have ended up with the Egyptian grocer, but I bought the ticket.
Oh, well, that's all right, then.
No, it was a very tidy sum.
into
Done
that.
sight more than you get paid to be on this programme.
Well, they pay what people are worth.
Could be choose. People are annoyed with the lottery because they keep giving it to projects that the Daily Mail says aren't suitable. So the new idea is, on your lottery ticket it will say, would you like to give money to really good causes or boo illegal immigrants?
Will
Dying
they say,
kiddies or horrid people?
What did they actually suggest that their readers do?
Well, just stop buying the tickets,
Stop,
will they?
yeah.
Well, worse than that, they printed the office address of Lady Britain, who's the chairwoman of the Community Fund, and urged readers to vent their justified anger, as a result of which she received death threats and excrement in the post.
Charming.
Well, not, actually, no.
No.
No. You're misunderstanding. Quite unpleasant.
I mean, I don't want to harp on this, but somebody basically has a crap in an envelope and then posts it. Do they take it to the post office to have it weighed? So it is stamped?
Is this really because people don't like the charities, or is it just because they don't want to buy lottery tickets
I think people have
anymore?
realised the chances of winning it are minute.
Finally, the pennies dropped.
Yes.
Well, you won.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, yes, I did.
How much?
I'm not going to tell you.
This is the row then over lottery handouts after it emerged that some lottery money is going to groups campaigning for asylum seekers. Lady Britain, the head of the Lotteries Community Fund, received death threats and excrement in the post after the Daily Mail helpfully printed her official address. And if you think that it was a bad idea to publish her official address, then why not write to Paul Dacre, editor, the Daily Mail, 2 Derry Street, London. Paul and Rod, your roundabout clue. Lights, camera, Croydon.
Yes, this is a very funny story. Croydon wants to make itself the film centre of Europe, the film capital of Europe, and they've issued this sort of booklet that says, bits of Croydon look like Los Angeles. If you're setting a thrill in Los Angeles, film it in Croydon. We have fields, skyscrapers, traffic lights, dogs. Come to Croydon and make your film in Croydon.
Why does Croydon have a film commission? What's the point?
Rambo 3 was filmed in Croydon. Isn't it where he walks through the Arndale shopping centre? That was...
Are there any pictures that prove that Croydon looks like Los Angeles?
let's have a look.
Interestingly, none
be.
whatsoever, no.
Oh.
But it does claim that it can look like New York because 50 buildings in Croydon have over 16 stories.
Right. Yeah.
It can look like London. Who'd have thought?
Adaptable.
Prague, because it has the same trams in Croydon.
Yes, although the trams in Prague don't have Streatham written on the front.
This is the launch of the Croydon Film Commission, who are promoting the South London suburb as a cost-effective yet glamorous film location. The head of the new Croydon Film Commission, Hugh West, declared bits of Croydon could easily pass for New York, especially when shot from street level. That's Hugh West, who's the exact double of Brad Pitt, as long as you only look at his shoes. Which urban sprawl means at this particular junction, well, both sides seem equally unaware of the concept of leading, level as they are on 6. Round 3 then affords us the pleasure of 4 disparate images, of which one is manifestly odd. Which and why is the elusive question. Paul and Rod, your solid crew are Camilla Parker Bowles, Claire Balding, Ben Fogle and disgraced former Tory MP Neil Hamilton.
He looks lovely, doesn't he?
Yes.
This is something to do with the Countryside Alliance, I suspect. Camilla Parker Bowles, of those 4, I think, didn't go on it. I know your husband did.
Who's Ben Fogle?
Ben Fogle is the presenter of Countryfile. He was star of Castaway.
Did he not go on the march,
Because
then?
he was told it would compromise his own partiality with the BBC and the rest
So
of
the other 3 didn't
getting-
go and only Neil Hamilton did?
Is the right answer. Very good.
Well done.
Ben Fogle said that he didn't want to compromise his own career, that's right, by going on the march.
And this sachets into Rod being fired?
Well, he
Wasn't fired.
wasn't fired.
It was a dignified resignation, Ian.
Yes, I'm terribly sorry, it was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah,
Right.
It's the same number of syllables, fired, dignified, resignation.
Did you know you were making a dignified resignation at the time?
I was certainly later aware of it.
The BBC statement said Rod accepts it was a grave error of judgment.
Didn't.
No.
Did that sound childish?
I think it was a great career move. I mean, you were a little-known public figure, and now here you are on Have I Got News For You? I mean, where else
Yes,
do you
I'm
want to
ranked
go?
alongside you.
I know.
So you wrote about the
Oh,
Countryside
come on, this
Alliance
is more fun than
march,
today.
saying seeing the Countryside Alliance march makes you remember why you voted Labour.
I said it's why the people who read The Guardian might themselves believe that that's why they voted Labour.
Right.
That's incredibly
What's wrong with
pathetic.
The idea that it was the sort of the Tory party coming to London was absolute nonsense.
The point was that you were supposed to have everything vetted by the BBC, weren't you?
Yeah.
That you wrote in The Guardian.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, we all know what BBC stands for, don't we?
What's that?
Oh, here it comes.
Are you
Here it
ready?
comes.
Are you ready for this, boys and girls? The Good Fairy's going to tell you what the BBC... What does it stand for? The Good Fairy. What does the BBC stand for?
Buggers broadcasting communism. Must have heard that. It's
Have
hardly
you seen
original.
Question Time with David Dimbleby? I wish I was on that bloody island.
Well, you shouldn't mention the Dimblebys in front of Rod.
Why?
Ask him.
I've done to the Dimblebys. How does she know that I've done something with the Dimblebys and I don't? What did I do with them?
Come on, we better move on.
Well, do you want to clear your name?
Can I sue her?
So the answer is that they were all advised against taking part in the Countryside Alliance March, except for Neil Hamilton, who went ahead, as he heard that there would be TV cameras there. Despite none of them participating in the march, the royal family are known to be keen supporters of using dogs to hunt foxes, except for Princess Anne, who prefers to use them to hunt day trippers. Ian and Christine, your identical quads are Peter Stringfellow, Piers Morgan, Stephen Fry and Neil Hamilton, the disgraced former Tory MP.
Well, Stringfellow must be the odd one out, because he's in the bath.
Can we have a clue?
He's got
yes.
a crown on.
It's something that none of them did. It's something that someone here did. It involves...
Are they all on Fame Academy?
Well, now you're getting very close.
They were all on
Reality
Rivals.
TV.
No.
Reality TV and is certainly involved in the answer.
That show Help, I'm Desperate. They was it. I don't know, because Piers Morgan hasn't done any of those things either, and Peter Stringfellow.
It has something to do with Australia.
It's to do with invitations, in fact, really. The answer is that they were all asked to take part in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Except
Neil.
For disgraced former Tory MP Neil Hamilton.
Hang on, wait a moment. Would you mind
Right.
cutting out the word
No,
disgrace
that's-
when you refer to my husband in
Certainly,
future?
I will
Fired.
never
He's
mention the word
disgraced. What are you?
Exactly. Disgraced, I think. So I haven't banged on about family values for the last 7 years.
Do you know who else they approached? That's Edwina.
Who's that then?
I think they approached an awful lot of people
No, they did.
before they finally found people that said yes.
I turned it down, first of all, in April, for a variety of reasons, and then they came back to me about a month before they were going and said, please, will you change your mind? We really want you to come. We need a mother hen.
Translated as, we can't find anybody. Nobody else will do it.
And
What
can
do you actually do all day? Just sit around?
We had to get the water, we had to cook the food, we had to do trials, I had to clean the loo.
I saw you hugging and crying and then people going
You had to eat the
and
pizzas that
crying
were
and-
brought to you after filming had finished.
So is it not true that they delivered pizzas to you?
Well, I can't blow all the gaff. If you don't want me to blow the gaff about this show, you can't expect me to blow the gaff about that
What's
one.
the gaff about this
What's the
show?
gaff about this show?
Your time starts now.
There's something to
What
do
is
with
it?
the Dimblebees or something.
I don't know the difference between the Dimblebees, and I never discovered the difference between ant and deck either. I still get them in a muddle.
One's a very small insect, and the other one's very popular in gardens.
The answer is that they were all asked to take part in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, except for Neil Hamilton.
Disgraced Neil Hamilton.
Disgraced former Tory MP Neil Hamilton. He wasn't asked, as he was slightly too famous. Peter Stringfellow said no, phrase you don't often hear. According to his girlfriend, if he got picked for the horrible maggots and bug shower, I think Peter would have been on the first plane home. That's assuming the maggots and bugs hadn't got on it first. Which brush with reality means at the end of this ordeal, it's still neck and neck and neck and neck. Paul and Rod and Ian and Christine all having 7. And so for the audible silence that greets our final missing words round, a swathe of headlines wrenched from their articles, including some more or fewer from this week's guest publication, The Unsurpassed Feathered World. And so, eyes down, look in on what a growing threat.
12-foot pigeon. 12-foot pigeon is a growing threat. It's been barging its way into off licences, demanding bottles of beer. Oh, a bottle of beer. Well, what size is that pigeon? Give us the money. They go, coo! 12-foot pigeon.
Well, you can have 1 point as it includes the word pigeon.
Yeah.
Pigeon fancier's lung is the answer. This is a condition pigeon fanciers suffer from, defined as an allergic reaction to pigeons.
They shouldn't be smoking them. You get this pigeon coming, you saw nobody's looking. You can't muck around with nature.
It's dangerous. Next, what? Found in artist's drawer.
Oh, that was dead tramp. This tramp had been sort of stuffed and formaldehyde, and they just found the artist died, and they opened up, and there was this tramp in there. been
is
preserved.
the right answer. Embalmed tramp.
Embalmed tramp. Lord, story of the
He obviously reads the papers.
Next, what found living in council flat?
Tenant.
Something slightly more dangerous.
Machine gun. You're not telling me a machine gun's not more dangerous than a pigeon?
But probably
Anthrax.
not as dangerous as a crocodile, which is the answer. Which was
How did
found...
he jump the list?
Yeah.
Bloody crocodiles coming over here, get all the council flats.
Next, pigeon reminded me of what?
Ian Duncan Smith.
Yes.
Of the fact I'd left the oven on.
Yeah.
Think royals.
Camilla Parker Bowles.
Duke of Edinburgh.
Think deceased royals.
Duke of
Queen
Edinburgh.
Mother. Queen Mother.
The Queen Mother is the
Queen
right
Mother.
answer, eventually. Yes, this is the letters page of Feathered World. What do you think it's called?
Pigeon Post.
Pigeon Post.
Pigeon Post. And finally, Lord Burt admits I what?
I am a Dalek.
Coached Greg Dyke.
He did, yes.
Slightly embarrassing for Greg Dyke, though, isn't it? Being coached by Bert. Well, like a top skier saying I was coached by Eddie the Eagle.
Which random heckling means at the end of tonight's vulgar pantomime, this week's Ugly Sisters are Paul and Rod with 11. This week's Prince Charmings are Ian and Christine with 12. So a night at a local curry house to our winners, a night at Edwina Curry's house to our losers. But before we ask for the bill, the After 8 Mint that is our caption competition.
Activities marginally preferable to an evening at home with Christine Hamilton, I would have said. It's the end of the programme, won't we go?
You've never had and are never likely to have an evening at home with Christine Hamilton.
There's the one on the left side and the one on the right. I told you to call a plumber Wednesday, but would you listen to me? Would you listen?
On which sophisticated note we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Christine Hamilton, Paul Merton and Rod Liddle. And I leave you with disturbing evidence of how a young Boris Johnson got his big break in the Conservative Party.
That's grim. That's grim.
That's very grim.
Oh, that's fine.
The organisers of the winner dinner date with Ian Duncan Smith competition admits things could have gone better. And following a unanimous decision at Crufts, Brandy the boxer wins the trophy for the world's cleanest bollocks. Good night.
Will Ian Hislop be the king of witticisms, or will Paul Merton's quick humour make him the number one? Stay with us here on UK TV Documentary as we've more Have I Got News for You next.